And we're going to do a beautiful attunement with today's theme. We'll see what wants to emerge. So I invite you to get comfortable in your chair and take some beautiful cleansing breaths with me. And bring your awareness into this moment. And this moment. And this moment. And with every gentle breath, bring your awareness into your heart space. Just imagining that you're breathing in and out through your heart. Allowing each breath to be transformative, informative. Allowing the heart energy to be transformative and informative. And breathing in gently into that heart space. We step out of time space to that place of no thingness. And breathing in, we step beyond grieving and dreaming. As we listen to our heart space, as we listen to the wisdom of the heart, as we listen to the voice of love, we allow life to happen through us. Together, we become an instrument of God's peace. We become a vessel of love made manifest on this planet, here and now, in this spaciousness of no thingness. We allow love to speak directly to us and through us. And again, stepping beyond grieving and dreaming, we trust the loving benevolence of life, the creative force of the universe, the designing intelligence of life itself, of creation. with the step beyond grieving, we trust. We trust this designing intelligence, this creative force that is shifting life, healing creation, bringing greater wholeness. And we trust the consciousness. Beyond the grieving, we trust that all life is pulsing with greater consciousness, greater love, more light. And like the chrysalis that transforms into a butterfly, the world as we know it doesn't look the same anymore. So we trust the transformation and step beyond grieving. And as we step beyond dreaming, we give ourselves as this instrument, this vessel, not knowing how to form a butterfly in the chrysalis. We trust the designing intelligence that brings the imaginal souls together. So we let go of all dreaming of what we want things to look like. We let go of all dreaming of how we think things should be. We let go of dreaming in specifics and trust that this impulse of evolution is bringing together islands of coherence. This impulse of evolution is bringing greater wholeness, more love, light, peace, benevolence. That the agents of change are among us, and that this voice of love is co-creating with us, through us, for the good of the whole. That our awareness is transformed the same as our communities, our nations, our world, coming into greater wholeness, transforming culture, transforming education, transforming healthcare, governance, commerce, trade, transforming our relationship with Earth, with all the elements, with plants and animals, with all life. And so in this miracle of now, this holy moment of now, beyond time, space, we give gratitude. We become a vessel of gratitude. And we bring this spaciousness into the vessel we call our bodies, our minds, our hearts in this moment. Breathing back into our chest. Breathing back into the heart space. Coming back into our bodies. Trusting this impulse. And giving a few wiggles, taking a few more cleansing breaths, stretching your neck, your arms, moving, wiggling, whatever it takes to bring you back into this place, this beloved Zoom room, our community coherence call. So, welcome. Today's energies in the fire this morning, there was a lot about forgiveness. I think that's their theme this week, is forgiveness. And the energies are transformative. And when I sat down to listen to what was ours to hold today in this community coherence call, it was clear that this message of stepping beyond grieving and dreaming, which keep us in time, space, and really stepping into this benevolence, this love, this heart space, all the hearts behind grace, all those beautiful trees with Miranda. We all should be out in nature. It's gorgeous, Miranda. So I just want to open this up as we are in transformation. We are, as humans, we are as good of the whole as an organization, as an organism. We are as the connection field, which served a specific purpose during COVID. If everybody gets sent back home again, the room might be flooded. But as we sit in transformation, trusting, we create greater coherence. And I want us to imagine that as we come together as an island of coherence and really support other islands of coherence that nurture our innate capacity to live for the good of the whole, as we do that, we're watering the seeds of potential within us. They're germinating. As we come together in this island of coherence, all of our soil is more fertile. And like the forest, I don't know if Miranda feels like she's in a forest, but it's a beautiful foresty tree area. And look at Angelica. All those trees share, look at that. Oh my gosh. All those trees share nutrients and water and the sugar from the photosynthesis through the whole mycelial network in the floor of that forest, where we can't even see it. But we're learning that it happens because all those trees are connected and they're sharing. So even the little saplings that can't get enough sunlight to create photosynthesis, the large trees go, oh gosh, there's a baby down there. Let's share. And a tree gets the sugars it needs and gets the goodness it needs to grow with the rest of the trees. So that's what we be as an island of coherence, that we're creating more nourishing soil for ourselves. We're creating this greater capacity to grow ourselves and what's ours to do. What's mine to do? If we ask ourselves, what's mine to do? How am I a vessel of love made manifest? How am I an instrument of God's peace? What is mine to do? So I want to just open this up as an hour of inspiration into that island of coherence, into this idea that takes us outside of time space and into this space of no grieving, no dreaming, but full co-creation with the designing intelligence, with that beautiful forest, with that amazing greenery. Look at Angelica's, it's like, wow. And let's just hear the voices coming through. And with that, I'm complete.
I will pick up the feather. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you wonderfully.
Oh, good. This weekend, I spent time at Claudia's retreat space, like Stoneheart. And I was in the middle of highly skilled healers and shamans and pagan community that is so strong and trusting and kind and compassionate and filled with integrity. And I spent the entire weekend barefoot in the dirt. And what I witnessed was the importance of hope, of holding hope. Because as healers, we're tired. And there's that space of hope that's in its innocence. And it isn't thinking about a bigger picture. It's just thinking about the possibilities of change. And there's a space for wise hope and looking at youth and seeing that potential for change. And my battery is going to die on you guys. So if it happens, I'm sorry. But it was a really interesting journey to see how each person connected together and weaved together and brought out and nurtured each other and planted seeds and left you with lots of things to think of. But it was in an extremely hopeful and beautifully compassionate way. And I was so grateful to spend time on that land. I'd been hearing about her land for a year. So it was nice to journey with her, like through her birthday. And I took the chance to walk the labyrinths, and just knowing that there was that entire community there made such a depth of healing like be able to occur, because I was so well supported. And much like the community here, as we step in and we're nurturing each person's gifts, and how life-changing that can be, and how grounding it can be, and how inspiring it can be. And the space has left me hopeful to create a much bigger change than I ever thought could ever happen within my own life and within the lives around me and the lives of my community. And that ripple seems to reach out further and further the longer I take time for this part of this journey. Yeah. And I love this forest. It was saved by my community for the past 100 years. They keep continuing to revive it when it needs help. And there's a special energy that's been created here. And so I like to come and walk barefoot and bring offerings and reset. And I think that's so necessary, that we come into a space and give what we can. And when we can't, we let others give to us. Yeah. So with that, I'm complete.
Thank you, Miranda. Feel free to turn off your video so your battery can stay with us longer if you want. We love you. I loved your story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks for the wisdom, Miranda, sharing a lot. And the importance of people coming together and sharing together, which is what we do here and what we do in other places. But it's not what most people do in the world. The world is very divided, obviously. And so the question I raise is, what's the next step? Is there a next step? What do we do to deal with some of the issues that we'd like? What are I mean, you use the word transform many, many times in your meditation, Julie. So that's the key word that I'm looking at. What do we do the next step to bring about this transformation from where we are to where we would like to be? And I think if we come up with some ideas, we come up with some action steps. I guess I'm an area person saying, if something is going to be done, we're the ones that are going to do it. And the question is, when we've been talking about this group, how do we expand this group? We get more people involved. Are we doing something here that could make a difference? I think we are, and I think we just need to identify what it is. And once we can do that, we can do more of it. And so that's just my introductory comment. That, the question is, what's the next step? What's happening in this group here as a beginning? We don't have many people here. Is there some reason for that, or is there some way we can grow this group, or is it not important to grow the group? Maybe that's the question. So that's why I was wondering, does anyone have some thoughts about it? And I'd be interested, as I said last week, Julie, what is your vision for what's happening next? I'd be happy to suggest further ideas, but I'd like to hear what other people think. Do you have some thoughts about what might be the next step that's going to get us to where we would like to be? I'll stop at this point.
I'll leave spaciousness for Grace and Angelique and Carol and Kelsey to jump in if you feel called.
I just want to share it, Dawn, after our conversation last week, I got on another Zoom call called Writing Raw. We write from the heart. And I ended up, after the dreaming time we spent last week, that energy propelled me into a mystical experience last week after this call and the other call, which prompted me to even love bigger. It was a mystical, cosmic expansion of my heart. And I think when we gather together and we support each other with this loving energy and this nurturing energy, it allows us to expand into what we're meant to be. So I don't think it comes as a plan, because I didn't plan to have this mystical experience. But I think the loving energy of this group, when I jumped into the other group, is a loving energy that facilitated this mystical experience. And then it's helped me propel. So that energy I got from that has now allowed me to be brave enough to share with Julie what is bubbling up in me. And it took a lot of courage for me to text Julie to say, look, I would like to office in the connection build. This is what's flowing through me through love, Loving Journey Boot Camp. And the second week was last night in my group I'm trying it on, of 8 women. And it's been wonderful. And so Don, for me, I think it's not something we can just mandate, oh, this is what to do, but it has to evolve. It has to come with the energy that supports whatever is coming up, whatever is evolving. And that inspiration hopefully will inspire others to co-create or to create and to share in the field, which I hope to share with it in the fall. Once I get this prototype done, this group done, to get their feedback on it and then share it with the world. So I think it comes from that way of being love. How do I present, how do I be in the world, even though it's different. And yesterday, I have some money that I'm investing in financially for my mother's estate. And I went to the financial investor yesterday and I said, I want to invest in socially conscious funds. And she says, well, what about interest or whatever, dividends or whatever? I said, that's not my purpose here. This money needs to feed socially conscious businesses. That's the purpose of the money. It's not to make so much in whatever, what do you call it? Interest or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, but she was taken back about that, Dawn. She's like, you don't care what rate of return? Mm-mm. I said, I need to feel good about where I put this money. And if it's a socially conscious business, that's what I want to support. So I think even bringing that, just that little yesterday with a financial advisor, like, wow, and this is a place where we're not too socially conscious. Kentucky's not like the bedrock of spiritual gurus, FYI. So, but even that connection with her, and so I shared my story of our family. She goes, can you email me this? Like this is so fascinating, your story. And so I think it's that feeling, that courage to share people, like, oh, this is another way to look at the world. This is another way to look at funding. To invest. This is a different way, but presenting it like, yeah, this is becoming the new normal. This is what we normally this is hopefully what people will focus on is social conscious business, supporting them. So I think it's just the day-to-day decisions we make. In my imagined version of my life, it's the day-to-day decisions I make to stand in love. And however that opportunity presents itself, whether it's here in the group offering something or out with other people in the world, how can I just share more love? For me, it's how can I just share more love today? And I know it sounds simple, but that's my directive, is just share more love today. And be creative how you do that, Don't get in a rut with it. So that's my 2 cents, Dawn. I know I didn't answer your question, but it's just the way I'm living my life. And it's the only life I can control. It's taken me 58 years, but the only life I can control is my own. So I'm complete.
So going back to what Julie was saying, is stepping out of grieving and stepping out of dreaming. What do we have left? Only the present. And Grace, when you're speaking about what is the only thing that you can control, is the present. And so we really take a step back and just give gratitude for what we have and gratitude for what we can give in this present moment. I think that can take everybody so far. I'm complete.
Carol and Angelique, you're welcome. Angelica, I always call you Angelique. I have a very special friend, Angelica, that's Angelique. And so I'm sorry, I always call you Angelique. Angelica, you're welcome to jump in here. And I just want to answer logistically that we're in a visioning phase for good of the whole that really does broaden and expand the mission to other organizations and how we begin to work together and create that mycelial network that I talked about when we look at the forest, that we begin building this mycelium for nonprofit organizations, for others who are working to live for the good of the whole. So with that, lots is happening, and not a list that can be shared at this point, but we're in that visioning stage, and we're working to build that trans-organizational superorganism, the trans-organizational nonprofit superorganism of how do we support one another? How do we support each other in our own missions? Just like both Grace and Kelsey just mentioned, it's like when we come back to what is mine and how does love flow through me, it's about flowing and growing and knowing in this moment. So this is where we're at. And the field is open if anybody else wants to jump in. Angelica, Carol.
Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, Carol is on the kitchen cooking. Very interesting point. The unification of the people that talking about this message of peace on the heart. And the unification of all groups. He can to be like invited people that doing this program and expose everything the same things, you know. Like too many persons now that are doing this in different groups. It's like how unification all these people. We cannot be worried about unification anybody because this need to happen very individually. Like the message is person to person. We cannot to push somebody to like something. But when we are clear about talking about the heart, the person that really need, he want to stick with the message. Because the message is not doing like everything do. People say the world need peace. The world no need peace. We are the people that we need peace. The world is very busy in all this system, all his traumatic problems. Like I listen this teacher now, as happened now, in this moment. This teacher, the name Pren Rawat. You can to Google Pren Rawat. He started when he had only 6 years to tell the people the knowledge and everything is inside you. And some people laughing at him. When they bring here to America, he had only 14 years and still with the say the pieces inside each person. There's no outside. Some people throw to him case. They throw things to her face because they thinking this is a little guru coming to make business or something to America. And now in this moment, this little boy, you can to see, you go to timelesstoday.com, you can to see all the organizations. It's like millions of people, the different language. Millions. Now he had like 50 something years. But he was a process for integration the no followers. He don't want followers. Like when some government want to give to him some award because for the mission that he do, and the guy tell him, "Oh, you are ambassador of peace," and he said, "No, not only me. Everybody is ambassador of peace. Everybody." He no want titles. They try to give some title to him. He say, "No, everybody is ambassador. We are ambassadors of peace." That is that we need to be conscient about this. He is still doing. He go to Colombia, my country these days. He established meditation for the kids on the schools, and they put on the calendar meditation 1 hour every week. And different schools in the government they program, and they having the meditation now for the kids. He having another program, educational program, like Donald do this kind of educational program too, to education people in this issue. And he having this program, he visit 800 prisons and bring the message to the heart. And these prisoners, some of them, they say, "I hear this long time ago, I never coming here to this place. I know about this peace and this feeling inside me is like this. I never doing this thing that I do before." And they, in some state, they report the prison that are closed because nobody want to go to the prison now. And he was doing this program over there like years ago. And when he get back, he was so happy because somebody tell him the prison they close. They take conscience about why they listen, and they change totally. Because it's not necessary to be in prison for receive this message. We can to be in prison when we are in the house or we are in any place. We put the bars. We put bars around and we put obstacles for don't feeling happy and don't feeling gratitude and don't feeling love, divine love. It's on the mind. The mind sometimes we need we need to educate in the mind because sometimes if you think too much, you want to feel in prison. And it's beautiful the integration. Like I don't know, I suggest that maybe one day you guys invite this guy to talk, Pren Rawal. Make some integration. Um, I am not a fan of him. I practice what he tell me because he say the knowledge inside you is your word to make it work. If I don't have any time for practice, I don't want to have anything else. I don't want to feel in this experience inside me because sometimes we forgot the priority of the what is first. We forgot about the us. Sometimes we try to do things for other people and we get very busy and we forgot about us. We forgot to connect themselves with this infinite inside the us. We forgot. We try to make content our neighbors and other people. What happened with my own experience? I am connected, really.
You need the left one.
Like sometimes we take it very serious too. It's not about serious and not about religion. It's not about some cool. It's about enjoying the beautiful gift for life, the Creator manifestation for us every day, every moment. Like the lady said before, like here and now, we are to be in the present. We don't have nothing more else, only this holy name, this breath. We forgot that this breath coming in and coming out is the perfect mantra. He no need to be pronounced. He no need words. Sometimes for ignorance, people pay a lot of money. Oh, this is your mantra. This is your magic word. This is good for your relationship. This is good for you having a business and blah, 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 blah. And we thinking that this is true. It's business.
That's enough, right?
The truth is simple. It's not a business. It's inside you. And you need to open. And I need to open too.
Yes.
I need to discover.
Practice what you preach.
Practice. Practice what we're talking about.
Gracias. Let's breathe into that and just pause for a second and just breathe into that spaciousness. Really aligning our hearts. Thank you.
Well, Grace, I think what you suggested earlier was brilliant. Just want to comment. And it's interesting that, I mean, what I hear you saying is that you're finding what's really important is that we learn to give what we can to the greater whole to make the world a better place. And if you have something extra, you want to share it with others. You're not interested in the interest that you can get back. You're more interested in what you can give to others. And then you're being criticized for that. Think about it, because everybody else in the world, not everybody, but I think you would say the dominant point of view in the world is your real goal is to make more money. It's really to take from the world, not to give to the world. It's by taking, you become more wealthy, you develop bigger houses, bigger whatever. And that's why we have such an imbalance right now, why we have, at least I understand the figures that 9 people in the world own 50% of the wealth. It's hard to imagine. And that 2% of the people own 80 or 90% of the wealth, where so many people are starving and don't have enough. And here what you're saying is, which I think is so brilliant, but yet being criticized, that you think it's a good idea if you have more than enough, that you want to share it. And then for doing that, you're basically told there must be something wrong with you. But you're sticking to your guns. That's what's so important. And, when you say you can share that with other people and environment. So that's why, from my point of view, we begin to understand what it is that we need to do. And you've described it. And what we need to do is to be examples and spread that, to create environments where other people can share their ideas in a peaceful environment. When I look at the world, that does not exist right now. The world is very much, I don't know what percentage, 80%, 90%, but the world is such that if you don't fit in with a particular tribe or group, you're cannibalized. If you're in politics, if you don't belong to the right political party, then you're obviously wrong. If you don't pray to the right God, then you're obviously going to go to hell or deserve to have your head cut off. If you don't salute the right flag, then you're likely to be involved in a war and so on. So we've gotten to this point, and I think what you're suggesting and what I'm seeing it, that's when I raise the question, what is the next step? You know, what is it that we are doing and can yet do to make a difference? And I think, as I've said many times, we are the low-hanging fruit here. We are the people who can make a change. If we're waiting for somebody to come out of the sky and say, this is going to happen, I personally don't think that's the answer. It might be part of the answer. I mean, there's nothing wrong with prayer and asking that God to intervene. But I just want to share the point of view that I really believe that, and this is, I think, the message that we got from Barbara Marx Hubbard. The message we got from her is that we've been given the opportunity to take responsibility for ourselves now. We have the ability to ask that, what is our contribution to the greater whole? What does each individual have to contribute? And if we can teach that, it's not just it's not part of our inheritance. Just the opposite. What we've inherited is that we become part of a tribe, and that's the way for billions of years we've survived through history, and we learned that from evolution. So I applaud you, and that's why I asked, you know, when the comment that was just made that we're prisoners, we are prisoners ourselves. I think that's true. It's not just the prisoners behind bars. When we're born, we are prisoners to our culture. When we're born, if you're given a political word and given a patriotic word and a religious word, and you're saying, if people don't accept the words that we gave you, then you're a bad person. I think there's a lot to be learned here, and I think it's important that you all share your ideas, and I think you're on the right track, and that's why I'm here, and it's a pleasure to create this opportunity here that Shelley and Julie have created. But this has to be repeated in many ways. We need 1 million groups like this around the world. And the question I have is, what are we doing to make this group grow? And right now, I think we've had sort of, you know, we need to address the issue. What are the next steps to make this program become achieve the potential that it's capable of achieving? Just some food for thought.
Well, Don, while you were speaking, a download came from the field. I'd like to share it. If you are a prisoner of your fears, love is the only key to freedom. It just got downloaded when you're talking. And I feel there's a lot of people have their own internal prison within their mind that is based and rooted in fear. And the only way through liberation is to open it up. The key is love. But people don't trust love. When they're stuck in a prison of fear, you can't trust love. It's hard to trust love. When I'll share an example, one of the women in the group last night wouldn't come on, talk to me right before the group, said, I can't come on, I'm in grief, and I can't be on the group. I can't be live on Zoom. I said, listen, just get on your phone. Don't turn it, mute yourself. You don't share one thing, you don't show your picture, just listen. And I can't do it. I said, just trust me. Just listen. I won't ask to call on you. I'll tell you in the group, you just want to listen. And you have the safety. And I texted her this morning, say, how are you feeling today? And she said, thank you so much for encouraging me to stay on. This is the first time she'd been in the group. She wasn't here last week. She said, encourage me hearing other women share their stories. And she said, thank you, it encouraged me, but she didn't want to be there. But I said, just come. You don't have to say or do anything, just listen. And just her listening, being in that listening mode of all the other women's, she realized, oh, she wasn't alone in her grief and her misery, that other people had challenges this past week in their life. And so it's encouraging people to trust love, to go stretch beyond their comfort, because it's much easier to stay in our, I call them in my work, stress loops, or we look at life through our filters of our stress loops. And so it does take trust, and we have to be that loving being, that loving presence that people can trust. Okay, I'll trust you. I don't want to be here. And I said, if you don't, just blank off. If you don't like, if it's not supporting you, the group is not supporting you, the call. It was on self-care last night, the topic. And so I said, just leave if you don't feel supported. And she stayed the whole time, and she said, thank you so much. So again, I can only touch people one heart. You know, it's what I can do right now. That's what I'm told to do. This is my journey right now, my loving journey. And so I think we just have to trust where we are. And even 4 weeks ago, I went to rock shop, and this is the only rock I bought, the one that said trust on it. And there was like probably 30 or 40 different words. And then God said, nope, trust is the one you're picking. Like, really, trust? So that's my share.
I think we were kind of talking about that kind of either mental or social prison that we're either born into or that we put ourselves into. I think eventually staying in that prison, part of that is choice. And sometimes, and I absolutely applaud you for this, Grace, is sometimes you just need somebody to show you love, to show you that there's another way, and to give you a bit of encouragement. Just to step out of it and say, there's another way to do all of this. There's another way to look at life. There's another way to look at everything around you. And you don't have to stay in the negativity or stay in the stress or stay married to your grief. So I really applaud you for that, Grace. That's amazing.
Well, this, your friend left, it seems, because she didn't quite feel that it was a safe environment. You say it was fearful for her. Then the question becomes, what can we do to teach people that you're creating a safe environment? And there might be some simple thing. It's one thing to say you ought to do this, but more specifically, it might be say that, gee, if you could just think, instead of saying I can't, if you just say I can, maybe you could come. It's a change of one word. We can change the word either or to both and. Both and teaches us that we're alike. We look at our similarities instead of either or. So there are some very simple steps that we can begin to teach people instead of preach. It's one thing to say you ought to, you should, but when you give a practical suggestion, you know, it might be for this, how can we make this place safe for you? What do we need to do? You know, instead of, no, she leaves, and it might be that, you know, what she's really saying, I need to be in a safe place. And how do we begin to change ourselves to help teach that skill? What can we do to make this a safe place for you? Engage that person in conversation. And once they leave, they've left. So what you say, I think, is it's fine. But what I'm suggesting is the next step is a little more than just saying something would be good, but what are the specific kind of things that we can do that get people to say, I'll give it a try, or maybe I think I can. As Barbara, remember Barbara Marx Hubbard's, Julie, you remember this. You know what her famous one word was, a 3-letter word? Do you remember? Was yes. You know, when you have an idea, say yes. Yes is the word that transfers your idea into a physical action. That's how we are. That is our superpower. That makes us different from every other species, that we have the ability to use ideas, symbols, and transfer them into physical action. And we do that by the magical word when we say yes. We take your imagination. But we have to imagine the possibility And then when we say yes, that's what makes us unique from every other species. We are creators. We create so much, but we have not been able to create the ability to get along well with everybody together so far. We're doing just the opposite. And we can understand why. It's not a proper time, but I think I can explain why I do that in a book that I'm writing. But there's a reason why we keep ourselves in tribes separate from one another, because that's what was necessary for billions of years. In order to survive, you had to be prepared to kill in order to eat or be eaten. But the world is different today, and that's what we need to learn. We have the ability, that is our superpower. We can determine who we are and what we choose to become. And until we realize that, say, what is the next step? So just a simple thing, I just make that suggestion to you, Grace, maybe to your friend, what could we do for you that would make this a safe environment? Is there anything that we can do? And then maybe just stir up a conversation. Keep something. That's just a suggestion, which you may take or not take.
Thanks, Don. Grace had to leave. She exited. And I think what she was saying was that that person did show up, did not leave, but did come. And Grace did create the safe environment by saying, I'm not going to call on you. Don't turn on your camera, just show up. And so Grace did just that. So
yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I thought she said she didn't come back.
yeah, she did come on. So I need to wrap this with a bow today and sign off myself. You're welcome to stay in the field if you want to and continue to converse. Carol, do you want to jump in and presence yourself before we call it good for the day? No, there she is.
Hi, good morning. I think it's morning. Had an unusual night, all night awake, cooking and cleaning. And I said, what the heck, I can rest when I need to. And that was the first time I ever did that, because usually I just force myself to stay in bed. I said, no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do things. And it felt really good. It was like breaking the rules that I had in my own mind, in my own head, the boundaries and everything, and just said, okay, I'm going to change. I'm going to try a new way. And it worked, because I was like stuck in some negative information that I was ruminating in, and it just like, it left, because I focused. I was focusing on good energy and positive energy and putting blessings in the food and enjoying the process. So yeah, it's amazing what we can do when we focus on good things, and we can get out of the traps, of those negative information that we somehow got, and it's like those records, that's like old records or something. And to recognize it is the first step for me to say, oh, that's an old pattern. I'm going to break that one. Watch me do it. Right, Donald? Yes.
Absolutely. That you got it. It's the start. You have to recognize that we are the ones who's creating our own problem. That's the first step. And if you understand all the problems we have, the imminent problems, whether it's global warming or pollution or wars, poverty, addictions, suicides, we are the ones who do all that. But you're absolutely right. When instead of blaming other people and saying it's up for God to change it, or it's God's fault, or it's the other country's fault, or it's because you don't have my right religion or flag or political party, all that blaming, shaming, complaining is not getting us anywhere. But what you're saying is, when we start with saying, what is it that I'm doing? It's when you say, I allow, and then you can say, now what can I do that will make things to get me what I want, what we want? It's that simple. But we're not created that way. We're created to spend most of our time thinking about what the other side, our language is an either or language. all the, the political and patriotic words that our ancestors created are words that divide us into us and them. As soon as you say, my God, it means your God is wrong. Or if you don't salute my flag, then you're out to hurt me or something. But you're absolutely right. I think that's brilliant as well. So there's a lot of brilliance everybody here has. It's now if we can just get it together and say, well, what's the next step then? Where do we go from here? I think that would be really productive. Everybody here has something to contribute.
That's it, Donald. I think, to really focus on the positive, keep it really simple and just really look for the good in everyone and everything and really, stay positive. When I was really sick, I went to a naturopath. I said, do I need to fast? No, you need to focus on beauty. Forget all the other stuff, So this morning I went out, even though it was raining, and I was smelling the roses and breathing the air and, oh, yeah, focus on beauty. And, the native people have told us this many times, there's beauty before us and behind us and all around us and within us. It's, simple stuff, real simple, but profound. And then when we're in that vibration, it's like a ripple in the river. It just spreads out. You share that with the animals or the air or the trees or the people, and then they share it, and it just goes out and out. So each person can really, really make a difference.
Realizing you have choice in your energy is an empowering thing.
I'd like to just share a brief story that I know we have to go and Julie has to go. But I was working with a patient in my psychiatry practice, very bright woman, but she had a lot of problems. But she was doing really great, and she turned herself around, and she was really great. And so I said to her one day, I said, tell me, what do you think made the difference for you? Can you give me what was your wisdom? She said, well, I'll tell you what you taught me. And I thought this was the important thing. She said, I realized that if I simply kept saying to myself, what would I like to happen? And that led to the next step. Instead of blaming other people or blaming myself, saying that I wasn't good enough, or blaming others or complaining all the time, I just started to ask that question, what would I like to see happen? And that's when I began the whole world just changed for me. Such a simple thing. And everybody here, if we asked you, what would you like to see happen? You know what? I think we'd almost 100% agree. We'd all say we'd like to see happiness in the world. We'd like to fill the world with unconditional love. We'd like to have peace in the world. We'd like everybody to have enough food and shelter. We could all agree on those things. I mean, are the terrorists, or are they against those things? I don't think so. They want the same things that everybody else wants. But instead we get caught up in what's wrong. But we have to realize that we got to know what's wrong before we can change it. And then we have to ask ourselves, what do we want for ourselves? And that's my suggestion. We spend a little more time in these meetings and say, what can we all agree on? How can we, that's the way we really synergize our energy. If our energy is working in the same direction, we can accomplish amazing things. But if we get caught up in what's blaming what's wrong or so on, it's not going to get us anywhere. So thank you for allowing me to share. And as I say, there's a lot of brilliance right here. And Margaret Mead's famous statement, never doubt that a small group of committed individuals can change the world. That's all that ever has. Every religion started with a couple of people. AA started with a couple of drunk men, but now it's worldwide. Mary Kay started with a couple of people. Amway started with a couple of people. So it's up to us. We're just a couple of people, but there's tremendous power right here. But we really got to ask ourselves, what's the next step? What can we agree on? And I suggest that we give that more thought and maybe make that sort of a theme. How can we use our energy to work together? So thank you all for those sharing, allowing us to share.
I have a quick thought on that, if I may. I was told recently about the idea that maybe we think we're small, but what about if we think that we're the entire universe and beyond? We're that big. Then we can take this small group and make it that big so that what we're resonating fills the entire universe and beyond.
Mm.
That we can have that much of an effect. Why not? Power of our thought.
Thank you, Carol. And Miranda has her hand up. I just wanted to say, Carol, that you moved out of that prison of your mind and into creative energy that shifted you. And it's that creative, pouring your love into creative. Miranda, you have your hand up.
I love this conversation. I always love the conversation. As I was listening, I was playing with a fairy oracle and tarot deck. And what came out was pedestal, choice. This angelic being is bound round and round, yet her bindings are not secured. She can choose to unbind herself at any moment. Situations are not always as dire as they seem. If you have chosen this card today, understand that you must look deeper at things going on in your life. Are you seeing all the different sides of a situation? Perhaps you are feeling restricted when it is your choice to simply decide to be free. We often bind ourselves with limited belief systems and outdated thinking patterns. What habits can you change in order to release yourself from your limited thinking? Many situations are not black or white or good or bad. It's up to you to find the middle ground in your perspective. Find the place where you can sit and see both sides. Ask for clarity and to see all facets before making up your mind. Find your pedestal where you can see the truth and release all that does not fit your chosen reality. Choose wisely what you want in your life. All of the choices we create a vibration that affects all other life in the universe. If one chooses wisely, it will be what is best for others. You have much more control over your life and circumstances than you may even realize. And I thought, didn't that just weave what everyone had said in this conversation? And it leaves a chant. I am a being with the gift of choice. I am open to truth. I choose to bring into my life all the good that exists for me. I choose freedom. My life abounds with positive options. I choose wisely with my best interest in mind. So be it. And I always find, for me, that synchronistic energy, if you are letting it in, and that, as Carol was saying, you're much bigger than you think you are. And right down in that scientific realm too, right down to the atom, right down to that energetic Om. It creates a reverberation that is universal. It is a ripple effect much bigger than you could ever imagine. And so those who choose to pray, they make a bigger effect than they think. And those who choose to read create space for knowledge, which creates a bigger ripple effect than we think. And those who choose to have art as an expression also create a bigger ripple effect than they think. And the separation in which we think is happening may not necessarily be happening because every reverberating pattern eventually is running into its other patterning. And there's a lot of crossover. And sometimes it causes a disruption. And at face value, that disruption may look negative. but is the place that is created change. It's a door that gets opened. And right now, there's a lot of things bouncing off of each other, creating change and change and change and disruption and disruption and disruption. But I do not see it as the negative. It is just that great of a change. That I am complete.
Thank you all and have a very good day. Lots of love.
Thank you, Miranda. That was beautiful. We'll see you all next week. You're welcome to stay in the room.